Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome. You are live in the We Can't Wrestle YouTube page, the We Can't Wrestle Facebook group, and the We Can't Wrestle Facebook page. Welcome to We Can't Wrestle Live. And look at this. Look at this. What nostalgia. It's the Three Stooges tonight. Nate, Aaron, and Kyle with you. Kyle Army, what is going on out there, my friend?
Not much. Not
Still
much.
still quarantined?
Yep. Still quarantined. Still off work. It's
Well,
fun.
you're working here tonight. We're glad to have you.
Yeah.
And Aaron is here joining us for the first time in a while. Aaron, what is up, brother?
Hey, on vacation, so I can do this, I guess.
Well, that
I
works
feel
for us.
I feel bad. I feel bad that you're on vacation and I'm like, yeah, I haven't worked in a month.
Leonard Mitchell is here. He said, "What is up? What is up, Leonard?" I want to tell everybody, if you have not yet, please, Jeremy Cotton, what's up, my brother? Jeremy was on Archie's trivia, trolley trivia in the asylum last night. That was fun. Uh, I want to tell everybody, if you have not yet, please do check out episode 95. Aaron and I had the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Chad Austin, former ECW and East Coast independent wrestler. It was a great conversation. What a great guy. And I think at some point we're going to have him back on the show,
Yeah.
it sounds like.
And he's most proud of his Smoky Mountain stuff, but we'll talk to him about that.
I wasn't on the interview because I have a personal restrictions to talking to anybody named Chad. So,
Jamie Patterson won the Nate Maxon Kenny Omega face thing.
Which comment was Jamie's?
He said the 6-star shuffler, the best podcast machine.
I'll take it.
Wins.
I'll take it. And here, this is for you, Jamie. A little jazz hands action for you. All right, guys. So, of course, We Can't Wrestle Live talking about modern product from this week. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, I'm going to be honest, I did not get a chance because of work and such to actually watch SmackDown this week.
I did.
I did check out the incoherent ramblings of Vince McMahon on SmackDown.
He don't love it, does he?
I'm not on much, but I'm professional. When I'm told we're going to watch the modern product, I watch all of the modern product. And
some of us are on vacation.
I wasn't on vacation the other time I did it. I just had a day off. But anyway, the Triple H 25-year thing was fucking disaster.
Yes, it was. What's up?
Like, I know you said you watched the Vince McMahon part. Did you watch all of it?
I watched that segment as well.
That was fucking terrible. And it's one of my notes for the in general thing is WWE needs to stop doing their fucking shows like nothing's different. Yes. Like they're doing shows that would play okay in front of people. You're not in front of people. They need to acknowledge shit's not.
They won't even say what it is. They're just like the current circumstances.
Yeah.
Why? Who else got a 25-year like huge package thing and everything else? Was there anybody else that got one of those?
Did Taker get one?
Maybe Taker did.
I'm sure Patterson got a huge package on his 25 years.
I bet he did. I bet he did. Oh, I bet he went banana too about it. It was the size of a banana. But anyways, it blew my mind to see everyone being like, "Oh, Triple H, oh, great, 25 years, man." It's like I'm sitting here going like, "Okay, that's great, but you guys just released a crap ton of talent." Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry they couldn't make 25 years.
Yeah, sorry, some of them couldn't make 25 minutes. It seems like
it was untimely. It was somewhat inappropriate. And like I said, it was like they're trying to they had like Shawn Michaels go out there and like do the funny, like the spontaneous funny stuff, you know, and like they pause for laughs, and there's no people there to laugh. You don't need to pause if there's nobody there to laugh. That honestly should have been a fucking network special. Like in a studio. sitting people down and talking about Triple H. You know, that's what that should have been. That should have been like Corey Graves or Michael Cole hosting something. And I know you don't want to have Ric Flair and all these guys all in the same building, but have Michael Cole interview Ric Flair in a formal setting and say, "Tell us about Triple H." It's fine if you want to celebrate the guy, but that environment and the way they did it like they did it like they were in front of 20,000 people, and they were in front of Michael Cole and Corey Graves.
Yeah, well, that and they're doing that. A lot of of the wrestlers are doing that too. Is they're still reacting like there's a crowd there, and
Yeah, it's trash.
It's awkward.
Well,
And
when you have a crazy old man that has told you that this is the way that it needs to be done
well, that's
for
what
the
I was
last
going to say.
10 years,
It's a testament to the fact that the way that they train them now doesn't necessarily work because they're trained to be actors and not to be they're trained to be actors and not wrestlers, like the guys we would have watched back in the 80s and 90s.
The only thing that played well, the only thing that entertained me, the only person that entertained me at all in that Triple H 25-year thing, honestly, was Stephanie McMahon.
Brian McGraw commented he loved when Stephanie called, so there you go.
yeah, that I'll give her due.
That was funny shit when she was like lazy eye and he like hung up on her real quick. That was funny. But other than that, it was just
And then, like I said,
I can see the comments now. I've learned 2 things.
we learned something. We learned that's Vince McMahon's humor. Everything you heard in his whole little spiel, that is Vince McMahon. That is what he finds funny. That's what he thinks is the greatest thing in the world.
And well, what I was thinking when I was watching it was like, is senile Vince McMahon his new gimmick? Like he was Mr. McMahon and stuff. Like he came off so babbling and senile and I don't know, it was just all over the fucking place.
And his head now looks like somebody carved a potato to look like Vince McMahon's head. It's fucking weird. The only thing I can figure out is I just see people. Just says Facebook user on mine. I don't know what that is.
That's Brian McGraw.
Okay.
Here's something that I don't.
Facebook user. Sorry,
maybe you guys can explain something to me. Okay, they made an entire goof off the entire social distancing thing. Vince McMahon's like, "Oh, I'd come down there and give you a big old bear hug," and Sean was like, "Oh, I got 2 words for you: social distancing," and everything else. But yet, we just watched a program where people are half naked, sweating and wrestling all over each other. So what?
It's because their segment is about them, and the rest of it is about something completely different. I don't even know what I'm trying to say here, but you know what I mean.
No, it's that by God, they're well. Look, it's almost the perfect allegory for what's going on in the country right now, where the multi-billionaires are the ones being like, "Nah, we're gonna stay home, but you all are essential." So
yeah, and then
go get them, guys.
And they send you a Skype video telling you what a great job you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I can run down my bullet points real quick for SmackDown if you want, or we can move on. It's up to you.
We'll hit that at the end if we have time.
Okay.
Can we come? I don't know if you have it listed or not, Nate. I'm not sure if you guys have even heard it because it just came out today. But apparently, Velveteen Dream is in some hot water.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that in the NXT notes that he's the modern day Jerry Lawler.
Well, we can save that for the NXT notes then.
Really quick, I want to go down the list because we didn't do a show last week. I want to go down the list of the wrestlers that were released, and if anybody stands out to you guys, you want to comment on any of them?
There's one I know of that.
Kurt Angle, Drake Maverick, Carl Anderson, EC3, Leo Rush, Kurt Hawkins, Eric Young, Heath Slater, Luke Gallows, Aiden English, Sarah Logan, Mike Chioda, Eric Rowan, Epico Primo, didn't even know they still work there, the Kanellises, Zack Ryder, No Way Jose, Rusev, Alexander Jaksic, Deanna Perusa, and Cassius. Yeah, that's it. Cassius.
Rusev and the Good Brothers. That's the biggest fucking I don't. Those are the two I don't get. The one I'm upset about is the Canellises, but that's just a guilty pleasure of mine. I like those.
I couldn't believe Kyoto.
The one that got me the most was Sarah Logan, because of the simple fact that you just had her on TV, and you had this whole thing about Shayna Baszler breaking her arm, basically made her look like a piece of shit, and then you're going to be like, oh, by the way, see ya.
You gone. Yeah, you gone.
Like that's fucking dirty. I'm sorry. I mean, it's dirty for all of them, but like,
well, if you look at the WWE as a whole and how they don't acknowledge things outside of the WWE much, WWE universe wise, the Undertaker murdered the Good Brothers.
Yeah, that's true. We still haven't seen AJ, so
he murdered AJ.
He be dead.
Yeah,
That's what I want to talk to the Colonel. He be dead. That's one of my favorite.
He be dead. The Colonel.
But yeah, a lot of them I wasn't surprised by. There, like I said, there were a couple I was surprised they actually still worked there. Kyoto surprised me. Angle I figured was already on a Legends contract, so I didn't even know he was still under a wrestler contract. And then we'll talk about the Drake Maverick thing when we talk about NXT, because I have something to say about that.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on, Monday Night Raw this week. It was a show.
Yeah, nothing happened. And the Monday Night Messiah is boring. Like, that needs to go away. That gimmick is... No.
It worked when he could have his stable. Honestly, it worked when he could have his stable, but now the Authors of Pain aren't around. They don't even have Murphy with him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they aren't even... I don't know. It's like they just dumped the whole stable angle part of it. It worked
Murphy
stable.
Murphy still uses, like, his picture and shit for his entrance and was, like, wearing his disciple stuff and everything. It's just... The Monday Night Messiah is boring. It's killed...
It could have been...
killed Seth Rollins for me.
It could have been a great angle. It could have been a great thing, but again, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we're afraid to push the envelope.
Mm-hmm. So we start with a Drew promo, then Hector Garza, Austin Theory, Andrade, Zelina. I like the chemistry between Zelina and Drew McIntyre, and I like Zelina Vega's faction. But
I do too.
Here's my problem, though. The WWE has already fucked it up, because you watch the show, and how am I supposed to take this heel faction seriously when all three of them are running from Drew McIntyre? Now, granted, I love the fact that you're getting Drew McIntyre over as a strong babyface, but we're a couple of weeks into the feud, and all three of these guys are hauling ass from him. You know, do you see what I'm saying? Like, they're running away from him, and that makes them zero effective as heels.
Yeah, I kind of like the fact they didn't get in the ring. Like, she was like, "Come on, guys, help him out," and they're like, "Nah, we're good."
Like I said, I like the faction, and I really like the chemistry between her and Drew. But I think that the way the segment played out kind of shit on any potential that they have to be taken seriously as a faction, I guess, is my point. Then we have. Let me see. Of course, I watched the Hulu version. I don't know if you guys watched the 3-hour version or not, but I never watched the 3-hour version.
I watched the YouTube version.
We had the Shayna Baszler Hartwell thing. The Kabuki Warriors with a promo. The Kairi Sane, Nia Jax fucking her up.
Now, the Kabuki Warriors, I actually like the Kabuki Warriors. There's not a lot of female, like, I'm not a big women's wrestling proponent right now, but the Kabuki Warriors, to me, they're like, I like them. They're fucking weird, and you can't explain it, and I enjoy it. I do.
I do
people
too.
aren't talkative today.
I do too.
I don't.
Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
I think the problem is they could be a lot better if they actually had talent in the women's tag team division
to compete with. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem, is that it, correct me if I'm wrong, but here's how it feels: is that if it's not Bailey, if it's not Shayna Baszler, Charlotte Flair, or Sasha Banks or Becky Lynch, they don't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and they do the same thing with the male wrestlers. Everybody's booked and defined down to this. Everybody's on the same level. Nobody. Back in the day, that's why how wrestlers got over. That's why Hulk Hogan was perceived as a bigger star than the Brooklyn Brawler because Hulk Hogan was written and meant to be perceived as. But like you said, other than a select few people, everybody is on this margin where they're all on the same level, the 50-50 booking. Nobody
And
ever
that
really gets over, and it's not the wrestler's fault. It's the way that the show is written.
and that's fine. If you want to have one or two people be your main stars, that's great. But the thing about the Attitude Era and even the Ruthless Aggression Era is that yeah, you may have had Stone Cold on top, but then you had The Rock, Triple H, Mankind, Kane, Undertaker
Hmm.
right there with him, where you could
Yep,
pick up any of those
absolutely,
people, put them in, and it sells tickets.
absolutely.
I
So
think that's the thing Drew
MVP,
McIntyre's missing.
well, I think Drew, unfortunately, here's my thing about him. I think what is hurting him is he became champion in this era or in this time frame where there isn't the audience. Hence, and also, if you notice, they have considerably cut back on the amount of people on TV. It's almost like they're working with a skeleton crew. I think he's doing a good job with
No, I
what
do
he's been
too.
with. Um, but yeah, this is definitely hurting the beginnings of his run on top. Um, but so we had a Money in the Bank qualifying match. MVP rambled on and on and on,
Mm.
and then he got beat by Apollo Crews. So I guess this is as good a time as any to say, what do you guys think of the Money in the Bank concept?
Fucking stupid.
I was the
And,
guy
and,
that
and I'm not. I don't want to be the guy just be like, oh, it's fucking stupid, but it's fucking stupid. And um, the number one reason I don't like it, the number one reason I don't like it is because it's all of them. If it was just one of them, I'd say okay, I'll give you that.
Mhm.
If you just do it this year, it's not an all the time thing. I understand the circumstances that you have, but from what I understand, every single one of these is going to be this corporate
Corporate
ladder
ladder thing.
thing.
Yeah.
You can only destroy the building one time.
you, you know when they said, "Oh, it's going to be on top of the WWE headquarters," I was like, "Okay, that's kind of cool because it's a different location. It's going to look different. Break up the monotony of the same old, same old." And they're like, "Yeah, and they're going to climb through the entire Titan Towers." Now, I know I was the guy that was like, "Oh, you know what? The Boneyard match was fun, and the Firefly Funhouse was, quirky for what it was." Unfortunately, this is where it's going.
Hmm.
I'm not looking forward to this. I'm gonna have to eat my words, I think, because this.
It's going to be silly, and I kind of agree with Aaron. I think it would have been a cool concept to say, all right, let's do this with one of the matches. Let's do this with one of the Money in the Bank matches, see how it goes. But like he said, you can only destroy the building once. So this match, they're just going to happen to fight through this office, and this match, they're going to happen to fight through uh, this boardroom or whatever the fuck. But I don't know. It's going to be silly. It's definitely going to be silly. Um, we had a Mysterio Buddy Murphy match that was passable. Andrade and Tostitos.
Ozawa. Ozawa.
Andrade and Tozawa had a decent match.
And that's one of my notes is that at least Tozawa's on TV more now.
But
I
here's the
don't know.
problem.
I like Tozawa.
Here's the
He's a,
problem.
he's a,
I want to ask you guys about this. If you notice this, when in Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, do or do they not shit on NXT? And here's why I say this. On this show, Hartwell, Tozawa, these people come out. There's some on other shows too. These people come out on Raw to wrestle Raw superstars or SmackDown superstars, and they make sure to go, this is Akira Tozawa from NXT, and it on Raw and SmackDown. To me, it just makes NXT look cheap. You know, it's like they're almost defining down NXT by saying this loser is from NXT. Here's one of the
Honestly,
losers
it doesn't
from
it doesn't
NXT.
matter anymore. If they're on NXT, they shouldn't be on Raw anyway.
No, and I don't like the
So
cross pollination. I've said that a million times on here, so I agree with that.
Unfortunately, again, it's one of those things where it's not Vince McMahon, so we got to make sure, pal, that they know that it's NXT, that you're not going to see Tozawa on Raw. He's not a Raw superstar. He's NXT.
Yeah, Rose.
Okay.
Yeah, and then our main event was Garza and McIntyre, and once again, like I said, I like the faction, but they're not, to me. They're not being booked like a heel faction should be booked if you want said heel faction to get over.
Here's my problem with the main event is the fact that they threw Garza into this already. So okay, so he's brand new as far as Raw goes and stuff. We haven't seen a lot of him already. You've thrown him into the main event against Drew McIntyre's spotter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Instead of, he should be going for something like the U.S. title or the Intercontinental title, something right now. But the fact is that you've just thrown him in there now, and now it's like, well, he can't get the job done.
well, I'll tell you what I can say this about Raw is that it's watching it, you're seeing newer people being used, and you could see the influence of these guys are guys that Paul Heyman likes. Okay. Like these are the type of people that Paul Heyman would want to use. But the problem is they're using Paul Heyman guys and not Paul Heyman, but not with Paul Heyman ideas.
Exactly.
You know? Like I think that Vince, like when they say, "Oh, this guy, like Paul Heyman's the executive producer of Raw," I think Heyman has a lot to do with saying, "Okay, I like Austin Theory. Okay, well here's Austin Theory," but Heyman, or he had like okay, I like Austin Theory, or I like Tozawa, or I like this guy. All right, here you go, and oh, I want this guy to be the United States champ, but like I don't think Heyman has a lot of say in how they get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that's obvious.
he's booking it. He's booking the talent, but he ain't booking the angles.
Mm-hmm.
And here's my question: why on a show when you don't have any crowd, you don't have tickets to be sold, you don't have anybody there to impress? People are going to either watch it or they're not, one way or the other. Why are you having a championship match?
Yeah.
That makes no sense because you're not selling tickets. You're not. People are going to watch no matter what.
Yeah, it's all so silly. It was silly before. It's even sillier now.
Raw should be 2 hours, at least until the epidemic's over or pandemic, whatever the fuck they want to call it. It should be 2 hours, and there should be 2 matches, 2 to 3 matches, and everything else should be segments of interviews. Whether you sit them down in like a UFC pre-tape segment, or they sit down like in the ring with Michael Cole and some chairs and talk about the upcoming pay-per-view and have like 2 matches. Make it like not as stupid, but almost like, well, I shouldn't even say stupid, but like when they first take the WWE machine and make like a show like how WCW Saturday Night was when it first started. You can have angles and have things play out without having to have matches.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the first couple of weeks when they didn't have an audience, they were kind of doing that. Like there weren't a lot of matches on the show, and I thought, well, okay, that's. But then now that Vince has dug his heels in and said we're still gonna keep running shows, like you said, it's like they're trying to run a show in front of a crowd with no crowd, and it's just it's you thought it was sanitized and kind of boring before. It's even more sanitized and boring now
Well,
because there's literally nothing else going on.
and Aaron, me and Nate had this conversation a couple weeks ago where it was like, you have all this footage for the WWE network. Why not show some stuff and be like, hey, this is just a sample of what you can get on the network?
Or like I said, they take a camera to every single show they ever did.
Exactly.
Everything's recorded. Fuck, show me a fucking house show from 2002. You know what I mean? But you can have commentators commentate over it because nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not going to get people that aren't like wrestling fans like us to watch a wrestling show for 2 hours with no commentary. So you still want to have some commentary, but show me a show that has never been aired. I would think that was cool. Oh shit, I'm seeing something that's never been on TV before.
Yep.
Hey, Andrew's watching with us. What's up, Andrew?
What's up, Andrew?
He's a watch party guy. He's always there. He's
Andrew
one of the
Janowski? Is that what
he's one of the three that's always there.
You got a bigger audience than the WWE Raw. Look at that. So now we'll roll on to NXT. We have the Velveteen Dream. Now I know you got. I don't know what's going on with Velveteen Dream. I have not been looking.
He sent his pecker to some kids.
So,
no.
So apparently, according to what is going on, is that apparently
he sent a picture of his pecker to some kids. That's what's apparently going on.
Well, yes, but apparently he claims that his stuff was hacked and somebody posing as him was sending the pictures out.
That's not exactly what he.
And apparently there was a conversation.
What he said was that was his pecker, basically, but he didn't send it to those kids. That's what he said. So I would say this, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Kyle, and then I'll let you speak. Let you speak. This is a prime example of why, even if you don't intend on sending it to some kids, don't take a picture of your pecker.
Sound advice from the We Can't Wrestle Live.
When you put something out there, it's out there. You might send your pecker to somebody and then go, I'm going to delete that. But it's still on that person's device, and they might not delete it. And then they're going to send your pecker to somebody else. And then your pecker's just out there for anybody to do whatever they want to your pecker and not in the way you want them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, sound advice, don't send out pictures of your pecker.
And why are you people sending out peckers?
It never looks good anyway. Like,
no. I like a little bit of mystery in my life. I'm
gonna be like, look, it's much more impressive in person. I'm not gonna send you. I can't figure out the lighting. I
can't figure out the lighting.
You just come see it in person. It's much better.
See, I'm the exact opposite. Mine's like, it's like, look, I got to get you here before I show it to you, because once you see it, you're gonna be like, oh, okay. So, I mean,
my pecker's like a good cop.
I did not think this was where the show was going tonight.
Oh, it is.
My pecker's like a good concert or some professional wrestling. Better live, buddy.
Better live.
Come see it.
So I'm assuming that means we're not going to get our Velveteen Dream Adam Cole match that they.
Oh no, they're probably still going to go with him.
Well, but see, that's the thing, though. Okay, to think back with
he was on the show today, and this show was apparently live. No, not today, but he was out there tonight or Wednesday live on TV.
But think about what happened with Enzo. I mean, he was ended up found not guilty, but WWE don't care.
Oh, they liked the Velveteen Dream. They didn't like Enzo. Nobody liked Enzo. Enzo's mom doesn't even like Enzo. They just fuck. This is a good reason to get rid of this guy.
What's it? Jim Cornette says.
Couple haters.
How many times did Jerry Lawler show his thing and force himself on somebody, and they just told him to go away for a minute, and then you'll be back.
Yeah.
Probably what Lawler was like. He was like, "You got this dream, you'll be all right."
David Gold is in the house. What's up, David?
David,
David asking me if I want LOD or the Rock Elite. LOD. LOD. I must have won. Absolutely. LOD. Legion
Congratulations.
of Doom. Thank you. Thank you, David. Bring some joy to my life just now, other than hanging out with these two cats.
You're like
All right.
me. You're always the last one to find out you won.
So let's talk about this Drake Maverick thing.
they fire the guy and then finally do something good with him.
Yeah, and here's my thing: is this? Did they? And this would be the coldest shit ever. Did they not release Drake Maverick, but then pretend to release Drake Maverick when they released everybody else so they could do an angle with it? Like, if so, that's fucking cold.
I can see it. But you're talking about the same guy who sat there and screwed Bret Hart. So, I mean,
Drake Maverick screwed Bret Hart.
No,
Yeah.
Vince McMahon.
Kidding.
Yeah, Drake Maverick screwed Bret Hart. It was the same night that he screwed his wife. Remember, R-Truth was there. Never mind.
Anyway, I don't know
My next question in this insanity. Number one, did they do this? Is this a gimmick, or did they just play up on it? Because, but what the fuck is an interim cruiserweight champion? Does that mean that when what's his name can come back stateside, he's gonna just be champion again, and this whole tournament was for nothing? Like, why are they using the term interim cruiserweight champion?
I think it's because they don't know what's going to happen, so they're just going to have this person.
Well, here's the other question for you.
Nope, Kyle's
Is it?
frozen. Okay.
Look,
no, I
without getting into what you guys do for a living or anything else, but the fact is that you guys are familiar with management and stuff. If you let somebody go, are you gonna have them work for you where that person could end up getting hurt or injured? Or, I mean, that right there is what gets me, is that it's like, we released you, and after however long, 2-3 months, you're not going to have a job, but why don't you come back and work for us off
Tonight.
the record?
Yeah.
See, that Devlin guy, I understand he probably went home, okay, got stuck and couldn't come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that he was probably working like NXT UK and all this, that, and the other thing. And this guy's just stuck where he's at. It is what it is. I think he's Scottish or something, isn't he?
Yeah, Jordan Devlin. Yeah, Scottish.
Yeah. Okay, so I understand. What they should have done was they should have said, dude, in the storyline, they should have been like, you can't defend. It sucks, but we have to take the belt away from you because you're supposed to, your title away from you because you're supposed to defend in 30 days and you're stuck on your sheep farm or whatever. So you can't. And then, because I know what they're going to do. When they can get back to doing live shows and people can fly and do all this, that, and the other thing, that guy's going to come back and he's going to say, I'm the cruiserweight champion. And he's going to have a fight with whoever is the interim cruiserweight champion. It'll probably be some kind of ladder match or something like that for both belts. And then they'll be like, oh, he's the undisputed cruiserweight champion. They could still do that. Because this guy could just be like, look, nobody, you can walk around and say you're the champ, but nobody beat me for it.
Mm-hmm.
So the interim thing is weird. But I like the concept. I like the tournament. That's like I actually wrote in my notes that cruiserweight tournament is something I'm actually into. I like the block A and the block B and the wins and that's the type of shit that I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
you can still do that. You can sit there and say, look, he's stuck over there, and we're going to have a tournament to determine who the number one contender is. And it's going to make the title feel like it's a big deal because it's like you have this huge tournament.
Yeah, like I said, I see what both of you guys are saying. This the interim thing just weird to me. It's a
It
weird
is.
term.
It's a fucking Vinceism.
I am digging the Killer Cross stuff.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Kalen Cross? Is that what they kept calling him? Caden Cross? Kalen
Something
Cross?
like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Because you have to have a kind of a twat kind of name in the WWE. It's kind of
Well, we
it's
can't
got to
call
sound
him
like you.
Killer.
Yeah,
Well,
Killer ain't ever gonna make it to
not,
WWE.
and not to mention, if you're in the WWE, you have to sound, your name has to sound like either a porn star or a soap opera character. I enjoyed, and here's my thing: I enjoyed, and this is kind of the same thing I'm going to say about Luke Harper later.
His name is Karen. Carrion
Carrion?
Cross.
Carrion
Carrion
I thought you
Cross.
said Karen.
Aryan Cross, what?
Carrion.
Karen hits him with the "I'd like to return this." I much like I'm going to talk about later with Brody Lee.
He's like Jesus. He's Carrion Cross.
But
Sorry.
I liked the Johnny Gargano Candice LeRae promo.
It went too long.
I did not like the way it was shot. I like stuff like that, but I don't like when it's shot like a fucking movie. I don't like that because it takes me out of the fact that this might be real. When you have multiple camera angles and then it switches to a black and white image of a bowl of blueberries or fucking something on the table, and then it switches back out to color, and then there's a little bit of music, and it takes me out of what I'm trying to
see. What I don't, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Mm-mm.
But in that aspect, I don't mind it. Like, my thing is, I liked the Johnny wrestling thing. For one, the only thing I didn't like was it went too long. They kind of repeated themselves a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's a pre-taped thing like that, I don't mind it because I could see that the NXT production crew went to these people's home and they recorded them and they made this package and everything like that, and that's fine. It's no different than when they would make a package video for a pay-per-view, where you see the guy hit the guy with the chair, so they make it go and they make it all ominous and shit. That I have no problem with if it's a pre-taped thing like that. It's when they do things that are supposed to be live that I don't like, when they do weird shit like that. But that was my only thing with the Johnny wrestling thing, was that it just went too long.
Kyle, any opinion on
that? I'm gonna state this because of what I said about the Boneyard match and everything else. Originally, I was like, "Oh, I'm a fan of it," and after listening to Jim Cornette and the Cornette Experience and listening to his review of it, he changed my mind on it. He said, you sit there and you have this build-up where it's supposed to be personal. They're calling each other by their real names. He's bringing Michelle into it, and then you have this work choreographed stunt show.
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense. And it's like, you know what? He's right. He's absolutely right.
Well, I said that
so
right after we watched
WrestleMania. Right,
so maybe
but I'm
you should
saying
listen
that,
to me too.
I don't like listening to you, Aaron, because I know you're right. But yeah, it just, I don't know. I get where they're coming from, but what about the old days? Like when they went to Brian Pillman's house to talk to Brian Pillman, they didn't have all these crazy cuts and everything else. They just sat there.
Kevin Kelly was fantastic on that night.
I know, and we can also, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate, okay? And people say, oh, what about the old days? What about the old days? And I'm an old days fan, okay? And people are like, oh, the Boneyard match is terrible. That's terrible. Okay, Mean Gene Okerlund wound up in like a 7-Eleven parking lot, and fucking Akeem, One Man Game became Akeem when a bunch of fucking savages in a boombox was playing. It's no fucking different.
It is different because
that's no different. It's no different.
That segment was played, first of all, it was played tongue in cheek. It was played tongue in cheek in that the whole purpose of that gimmick was that everybody was like, oh, bullshit.
I know, but I'm just saying, It's all relative, man. It's like the minute you try to pretend that you can't put the monkey back in the box or the genie back in the bottle, it ain't real. Just fucking watch it, either enjoy it or don't. There's times when I watch the WWE and I fucking turn it off because you know what? I'm an hour into this and I'm not enjoying it this week. So I turn it off and I fucking watch goddamn Law and Order or something. Okay? And then the next week I pick up the remote, I turn it back on, and if I like it, I continue to watch it. It's all fucking it's stop taking it so serious. Is all I can say. The Boneyard match is no different than fucking one man gang popping out of a trash can. Now he's Akeem. It's no different. It's no different than them going and finding the missing link in his cave with Bobby Heenan. It's no different. And that was the old days. Sorry if I piss anybody off saying that, but get off your soapbox, people. It's no fucking different.
I like my soapbox, and I'm going to stay here because it's comfortable. Thank you very much.
The other thing I don't like is people that are like, oh, like all the people now, they get all butthurt because Jerry fucking Lawler said ramen noodle moonsault, okay, or whatever. And they're like, I can't believe he said that. But then they go back and say, oh, I pined for the older days when we had Bobby Heenan and Jesse Ventura. Those guys were racist as shit all the time. But it was in the realm of professional wrestling. So, and I shouldn't even say racist. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying, right, guys?
They're heels.
I know. Heels say heel things. And wrestling is wrestling, and it's not fucking UFC, and it's not football. It's wrestling. You know? Guys would come out dressed like dragons and shit. It's all just whatever. Just watch it, enjoy it. Don't watch it if you don't enjoy it.
We're gonna skip ahead a little bit because we're.
Sorry if I vented it too hot. Matt Riddle fucking sucks. I don't know if we're gonna talk about him, but he can take anything. He can take anything that's good and make it fucking horrible.
How do you do that?
He needs to go back to wherever the fuck he came from.
Take fun and make it unfun.
We'll skip ahead a little bit because we got about 18 minutes left in the show.
And if you like Matt Riddle, fuck you too. I hate that guy.
What do you got? What do you guys?
Chico Santana. See, Facebook user Chico Santana. There you go. He knows what I'm talking about. Andrew, Chico Santana, buddy.
Flying burrito.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this Derek Loomis guy?
It's in my notes. Derek Loomis is the best fucking thing.
That dude's cool as fuck.
That dude is fucking amazing. If Empty Arena is made for anybody, it's fucking Derek Loomis or Dexter Loomis. Sorry, and when
Dexter. That's what I meant. Dexter Loomis.
And when even when it goes back to being in the crowd, it's still gonna be cool. I liked that dude when he was in TNA. But that fucking character, that dude's perfect. Fucking love him. He's like my favorite thing in the WWE right now. Fantastic.
I thought I don't know. I'm digging that. It's a cool gimmick. He's just like you said. He's built for empty. You know,
last week when he was on, I was like, that's kind of creepy. Like when he first came out and shit, I was like, whew. But then like the match started going and he works and people are going to be like, what did he just say? Do you know what style he's working right now? What it reminds me of? That guy, even though he did some flips and shit this week, when he's just doing the transition, doing the match and everything, he works like Taker did when Taker first started as The Undertaker.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic. It's a fantastic gimmick. He looks good. And like I said, he works like the old Undertaker, and I fucking love it. 5 stars, Dexter Loomis.
AEW from this week. Well, you guys start talking about AEW. It's my show, but I need to duck out for a second because I need a beer. I'll be right back. Keep
That's why
talking.
you get a little mini fridge, you just put it right at your feet.
AEW is my personal favorite wrestling promotion right now.
It won't be once they get back in front of people, though. I can tell you that. AEW is doing the best job with the empty arena stuff. They're doing a much better job than WWE. And I watch Impact, which nobody else does. And I can't judge their empty arena stuff yet because they didn't have any because all their shit was taped and it was in front of people. And they're just now, I didn't get to watch it this week, but they're just starting their empty arenas this week. But I'll give AEW that they're doing a much better job with the empty arena situation than the WWE is. But go ahead.
It's, I don't know. I don't know if it's just the simple fact of getting to hear Jericho on commentary with like Tony Schiavone, or the fact you have Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone on, that it just, I don't know. It feels like it's the closest thing right now to the wrestling days of old, where people aren't heavily scripted. People can go out, they can, be who they want to be, do what they want to do.
Yeah, I agree with that, and for the most part, it should be that way. I mean, there's times when people say, "Oh, the WWE it needs to let their wrestlers be themselves" and things like that. To a certain extent, that's correct. To a certain extent, too, you gotta also say, "Hey,
well, yeah,
you gotta also be what we want you to be." For the most part, but there's certain people like when I watch AEW now, and I'll talk about it in a little bit, that I'm just like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Marco Stunt fight fucking Brody Lee. Why do I want to watch that? The only way that's gonna work, Brody Lee versus Marco Stunt, is if Marco Stunt fucking joins that group. If he gets in the ring and he's like, you know what? Fuck this noise. I'll just join, and then he breaks away from Jurassic Park or whatever the fuck they're called. If I see Brody Lee have a competitive match with Marco Stunt, I'm gonna lose my shit. And if that's already happened, I might not watch it anymore. Has that already happened?
No, they're wrestling next week, or hopefully there's a squash next week. Is what I'm
saying. If it's competitive, I might not watch their show again.
So to begin the show, Cody had a decent promo filmed.
Yeah, it's like he was on a UB40 video from 1992.
Sliver, that's a deep cut. All right.
And that fucking belt should not be called the TNA or the TNT title. What if they get canceled?
Yeah. The whole thing, I talked about it last time we had the show too. The whole thing is stupid to have.
Just call it the TV title. Just call it the TV title.
Because I promise you, if WWE would have had USA Network Championship, Dave Meltzer would have shit all over it. Okay. Guevara and Allen, of course, had a really good match.
Yeah, and Jericho and Tony Schiavone are fucking comedy gold, man. They're fantastic together. Like, if Chris Jericho never wrestled again and just became the Jesse Ventura of Dynamite, I would be down for it. He called Kenny Omega a pumpkin head and then said he had Rocky Dennis face. Come on. He said he's a pumpkin headed Rocky Dennis face. And then later on, the match was going on. I'm going to jump ahead. Kenny Omega's having his match, and Kenny Omega hit something. Chris Jericho was like, yeah, pumpkin headed dipshit. Fucking fantastic.
I'm glad you told me that too, because as you can probably imagine, I didn't watch the Kenny Omega match, so I'm glad you told
Oh,
me.
he called him a pumpkin-headed dipshit, and he said it under his breath, which was the best part. Like Kenny Omega actually did something kind of impressive, and he was just like, "Yeah, pumpkin-headed dipshit." Like he didn't say it like outwardly. He wasn't like, "Tony, he's a pumpkin-headed dipshit." He was just like, "Yeah, pumpkin-headed dipshit." Like that dude should just stay in fucking commentating land. He's fucking fantastic. Go ahead.
What do you think about Matt Hardy doing both characters in his promo?
I'll say this about Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy, and this is going to be like the second Undertaker analogy I've made. Matt Hardy should be the only guy that's allowed to do that stuff.
Yeah.
Like the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse is what it is. But that should just be Matt's thing. If he's in a promotion, don't do anything else, but just allow Matt to do that. And that's just Matt. Like Undertaker in the 90s when we would watch, he summoned lightning and fucking fire and shit, you know? I don't know. Kyle's having internet problems. Go ahead and finish without me. That's what his girlfriends tell him. Anyway,
Bizarn.
what happens when you leave. But anyway, that's just my thought on Matt. Is I have no problem with the Broken Universe when it's Matt Hardy doing it.
I didn't watch the Kenny Omega match.
Suck.
I didn't watch Havoc and Cassidy because I want nothing to do with either one of them either.
That was trash.
The Where's Wardlow squash was decent. I liked that.
Yeah.
It was effective. It was exactly. You know what he reminds me of, and you're probably gonna say what the fuck, but seriously, he reminds me of what. He reminds me of Mason Ryan with talent.
Yeah.
Like if Mason Ryan would have had Batista talent, you know what I mean? Like if Mason Ryan would have been able to rise above the fact that he sucked,
which was impossible. Mason Ryan was garbage, but yeah, he's all right.
I like Where's Wardlow.
Apparently, I don't know if they did it on purpose, but I didn't watch all of the Dark Order thing because I didn't know what I was watching at the start.
Hey,
huh?
Kyle commented about your girlfriend comment. He said all the time.
I've known him for years, and I've known his girlfriend. They just
but anyway,
speak the truth. Speak the truth.
Go ahead with your point. We got 8 minutes.
Okay. They did something. If they did it to be funny, it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But if they didn't do it to be funny, then I don't know. Did you see any of the Dark Order thing?
Oh, I watched the Dark Order thing.
Okay, well, at the beginning of it, the guy's like mad because his girlfriend left him and shit, and he's like knocking his fucking drink and his fucking Lysol wipes over and everything. Did you see what the guy typed?
No.
When he was sending his email to fucking Brody Lee, he typed, "I had the whole world in my hands, but it was taken away from me." Ray fucking Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
I got the whole. Yeah, I was like, if that was something they intended to do, that was really funny to me. Like it was as funny as when TNA had the referee show up and fucking Smashing Pumpkins was playing on the radio. You know, like nobody else is gonna. If you notice this, then you're a real fan. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was some good shit.
So
other than that, the fucking Dark Order thing was trash.
I have alluded to this many times on the show. I think the Dark Order, I like, you know, for years I've been a mark for Brody Lee. I like
Brody Lee too.
I think the being associated with the Dark Order brings him down, as opposed to bringing them up.
And I don't even think the Dark Order as a concept is a bad thing. I just think the people that are using it,
the presentation
are not good.
The presentation of it to me is too goofy. I don't know, and the way that this was shot was again another problem that I have, because are we to believe that before this guy ever even decided to try to get into AEW before this guy ever even decided to try to get into the
He was running it.
that the AEW had the foresight to send a camera crew to this gentleman's house, not knowing that he was ever even interested in working for the company or coming to the dark. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and if you look at the
it's fucking preposterous. It's preposterous.
if you look at the time frame of it too, then he was like technically like the anointed one or whatever when he was still in the WWE.
Yeah.
Dumb.
So
yeah,
the whole thing was preposterous.
yeah.
So here's my thing, and I always have one every week. Okay, the bubbly bunch. Aaron,
Best thing.
all right. Okay, see,
I love the bubbly
here's my
bunch.
thing. Here's my question, and this isn't a question for you. This is a question for the general wrestling consensus that always thinks AEW is better than WWE, the wrestling nerds. If WWE did this, they would shit all over it. Am I wrong?
The reason
I'm not saying whether you're right or wrong. If you liked it, that's cool. But what I'm saying, tell me I'm right. If WWE did this, they would be bitching and saying it's fake and phony and stupid and dumb and bad comedy and blah,
and
blah,
I'm gonna tell you why my reason why, if I'm not saying it that if they did it, it would be because they haven't done it yet, but I can tell you why I think it would be dumb compared to this. I can tell you why.
Okay.
Because this bubbly bunch stuff is written by the guy, and it's written by Chris Jericho, and he's the one that's spearheading it and doing the humor to it and everything like that. If this was the WWE doing it, it would be shitty writers telling these guys what to say. But when the bubbly bunch happens now, it's these guys using their actual personalities, and you and Kyle are probably bigger AEW fans than I am. But the bubbly bunch thing works because it's all these different guys doing all their different personalities. This wasn't as good as the one last week. The one last week was really good. Like with Jack Swagger and his kids and all that shit. That was good stuff. This week was funny. And like I said, I like the inner circle because it's like I've said about factions sometimes that I don't like that they look like they're made to be together.
Mm-hmm.
I like them to all have different aspects and different looks and shit like that.
That's why the original Horsemen worked.
I have tons of friends that I shouldn't be friends with, but we all have different personalities and we're all the same. But yeah, the bubbly bunch to me is funny.
That's why the original Horsemen worked. Yes, they all wore the suits. Yes, they all were perceived as being wealthy and blah blah blah. But you have Flair, who is over the top about his extravagance and et cetera, et cetera. You have the Andersons, who are bone breakers and shit, and then you have Tully Blanchard, who's just a prick. But all these guys work together, and then J.J. Dillon, of course, as the businessman. But yeah, you're right. A faction is better when the guys are different from each other. It's much better that way. And then we had Dustin and Kip Sabian as the main event. Decent match.
And I don't know why Brandy Rhodes.
I don't know, and I know you. Do you watch AEW every week?
I watch it when I can.
Okay. Well, here's why I also say that Brandy, if you go back, you don't have to, but I'm just saying, if you would go back and watch AEW week after week,
I'm not going to.
I know, but if you would go back and watch AEW week after week, what you'll notice is that every single week, it's like they write the show, and then Brandy's like, did you guys put me in the show? And somehow they have to shoehorn her into the show. It's like she has to be worked into the show every week somehow, some way.
Because I watched it and I'm like, okay, I understand that is Cody's wife and that's Cody's brother. But I'm watching it and I'm like, when I go to work, get shit done, like Kendall's not behind me, like, yeah, get it. She's just like, your brother's at work. You know what I mean? Like, what does she benefit from Dustin having this match? Just saying.
I will say it was the best match I've ever seen Kip Sabian in. I'm not a big fan of his, but these guys.
I think that guy gets a little bad rap. I don't think he's terrible. He's a good little shitty heel, and he's got a pretty girlfriend, so that's enough to get people mad at him. He's nothing offensive. There's way more offensive things going on in this fucking company than Kip Sabian's saying.
All right,
I don't like I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry.
Really quickly before we sign off, did you want to cover anything from SmackDown? Because, like I said, all I saw of the show because of work this week, I didn't get a chance to watch. Other than that, I wanted to watch the last segment just so we could talk about that. But was there anything else of note that you wanted to mention before we sign off? I will say this really quick. I didn't see any of it this week, but right now, to me, one of my favorite things in WWE is the Braun Strowman Bray Wyatt feud.
It's okay. It's okay.
I like when WWE does what Vince normally doesn't do, and that's acknowledge the past.
Yeah, that's okay. There's just two things. Corey Graves is a lucky man. I'll just say that, and a hell of a salesman because Carmella's amazing. She's like the second hottest chick in the WWE, so I'm glad she didn't get fired. The other thing that they're doing, and I would not do it, is that Jeff Hardy thing they're doing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They're doing this thing, like 4-part thing where the beginning, the fall, the redemption, and then next week it's the comeback. I shouldn't say every time, but 90% of the time when you do some kind of redemption, this guy's coming back from this type angle in professional wrestling. Guess what tends to happen like 3 months into it or 4 months into it? They fuck up. Like they're gonna say, "Oh, Jeff Hardy's redeemed, and he's gotten past his demons, and he's gonna end up fucking hitting a hobo drifter drunk on like a Saturday in fucking goddamn North Carolina." It's gonna happen.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm actually looking forward to Jeff Hardy Sheamus matches. I mean, that's one thing.
No, it's gonna be great. They're gonna be good matches, but just bring them back. Don't be like, "Oh, Jeff's redemption. Jeff's better now." You don't know that he's not gonna fuck up again. when you're that type of, I shouldn't say that type. When you have those issues, you don't get cured. You're always gonna have those issues.
Right.
So don't even talk about it. Just bring the guy back. Say, "Hey, Jeff's back," and here you go. Because you can't script the future. You don't know if the guy's going to mess up again. And I'm telling you, he's going to fuck up.
Especially with someone of that type of personality that has backslid many times.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to fuck up. Don't do it. That'd be like going on TV and being like, "Hey, that one Uso, he ain't going to drink and drive no more. He's good." No, he is. He's going to do it again. He does it a lot. It's like his thing.
All right, folks. Well, I want to thank you for joining us on We Can't Wrestle
On
Live.
that note,
Aaron, thank you for joining us on We Can't Wrestle Live.
You're welcome.
And I want to let everybody know that you can, really quick, again, and I know Aaron is going to echo my sentiment, listen to episode 95 of the show, Spotify, iTunes, any app you can get a podcast on. Great conversation with Chad Austin. I was chatting with him today. He loved being on the show, and like I said, he's talking about coming back on the show as possibly just part of the show, not even an interview. So we're really looking forward to that with Chad. Thank you for being a part of the Facebook group. Thank you for being on the show, Chad. Also, join Aaron will attest to this. Archie Mitchell, our buddy, who was maybe going to be on tonight, but he's a little under the weather. World Championship Customs. Archie's done some customs for Aaron and myself. And Aaron's got one there.
My favorite one right here.
Ichiban
Hogan, buddy.
All right, how about this? Oh, My lighting sucks. Look at that. Harley Race.
Yeah, that's the one you got out from underneath me, you prick.
So check out World Championship Customs on Facebook. Join that group. And, of course, join the Asylum if you're a collector. Check out the Asylum Wrestling Podcast. Is there any fucking thing else I do? Oh, yeah. I might get divorced if I don't mention this. Check out the Motley Soup Podcast with myself and my wife, Kendall. It is not a wrestling podcast, but check that out as well. We're going to sign off. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm sure Kyle thanks you as well. And we'll see you next time on We Can't Wrestle. What?
Well, we're recording the podcast Friday, correct?
Yes. SummerSlam 97 review.
SummerSlam 97.
And Aaron is finding out about this for the first time because I just thought of it today. I want to talk because of the recent passing of Joe Pedicino, and I know you and I were both, when we were kids, we loved the GWF, so we're going to talk about some memories of watching the GWF after school.
All right.
Talk about Global Wrestling Federation.
So if you got any shit on those, go ahead and send us the comments. And
if you got some shit, send us your shit.
Yeah, send us your shit. Send us your shitty comments about SummerSlam 97 and GWF.
And we will see you guys next week on We Can't Wrestle Live. Check out all the shit we just told you about. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on We Can't Wrestle